All right, so we did a quick trip to AutoZone and we got some more Bondo fast drying filler. Fortunately, the hardener didn't come with it. So usually the hardener's hiding right under here. And as you can hear, there's nothing there. So I got gypped on the hardener, but good news is I do have some more of this stuff left over. So I'm basically just gonna use the rest of the Bondo that I have with the hardener there, and then go to AutoZone tomorrow and get that hardener that was not included with this Bondo. What else did I get? I got some glazing putty as well. We're gonna experiment with some glazing and spot putty for any little, light touch-ups that we might need to do. Also got 3 little assortments of applicators here. Nice and flimsy, different sizes. Should make my life a little easier for my beginner Bondo adventure. As you guys may have seen on my other Bondo experimental video, when I was patching my quarter panel and my front fender, the first time I did the wrap, I had to do some body work. I'll link the video. Yeah, I used an old frame that I had. At this time, I got it out of the wood, scraped off the old Bondo, and we're gonna use this piece of glass here to do the mixing. That'll be my little palette for my Bondo. So it should work out pretty well as long as I don't shatter it or, put too much pressure on it, end up in shards of glass everywhere. I think I'll be okay. So I'll just be careful. Anyways, yeah, we're just going to ignore the internet as far as the epoxy primer gods saying, I have to have that down first. We're just gonna wing it. I mean, we're not working with some type of classic here, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna wing it. We're gonna just apply the Bondo to the bare metal, or basically to all the low spots here. I'm just gonna skim coat, and start making my way across this whole little ugly area. So hopefully we can make some leeway. I don't have the proper Dura blocks, your actual block sanding equipment to make sure everything's flat. So I may have to wing it and just sand it the best of my ability with the tools that I've got. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty basic. It's gonna be kind of like, all right, let's do this, see what happens. We're gonna document my process on how I'm going to attempt to fix this area. This was already here, so that's definitely Bondo, like I said before, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, we're gonna get to mixing up some Bondo and some hardener. Oh boy, all right. You wanted my mask as well. This stuff is pretty nasty. If you guys have ever worked with Bondo, you would know. Here we go. This is actually my can I've bought years and years ago, so who knows if this is still good. Well, we're just gonna go at it. Since you got paper towels handy, make sure to mix up your hardener here. Knead it in the little tube. Make sure everything's mixed nice and good like. We're gonna try to do this without making a mess. All right, amateur body work starting now. So I'm just gonna glob a big old mound of this stuff on my mixing canvas. Man, this stuff is gross. Definitely some nasty stuff going right through my N95 mask. Some people do half across with the hardener. Some people do across the whole little blob. Again, I'm no expert, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it. And whoops, I think my hardener may be borderline expired. It's not as thick as I remember, but let's do this. I didn't go across it, but I globbed it up pretty good on top. So just like I saw on TV, you want to basically mix it. You don't want to stir because that'll introduce air bubbles and whatnot. But you basically want to work it until it's one uniform color. Again, I'm no expert, clearly. I'm just out here trying it. Starting to get that iconic Bondo pink, Bondo salmon color. Okay, that's mixed up. Move on over here. This baby set up here. And let's hit it. I like to thin it on out there. And they say, only take what you're gonna use. And I think I'm gonna use quite a bit of this stuff. You wanna adhere it into the metal, they say. So, dang it, that's what I'll be doing here. Dang, this thing is really bending on me. Maybe I'm being a little too rough with it. It's all right, it's a trial run here. We're gonna make mistakes. That's okay. It's the worst that's gonna happen. We're gonna have to redo it. I always seem to kind of rush through it, and I get a little nervous if it's gonna like dry up on you too soon. But that's just me with not having much experience with it. Then you kind of want to feather your edges, I've heard. It'll save you some time in the sanding process, I've heard, allegedly. Basically just kind of form it. It's getting a little hard already. See, it's starting to kind of set up as I do this. See, it's kind of getting gummy. So the experts say that's about it on that. All right, I'm gonna wash up my palette and my scraper, and we'll get back to it. Well, I just got to thinking, and glass is probably not the best thing to mix Bondo on, because this stays pretty cold, and that's just gonna chill your Bondo hard enough where it's gonna be difficult to work with. So I think I'm realizing why people may not use a piece of glass, or am I just crazy? It just seemed like it would work perfectly. And it would in certain scenarios, with it being warmer maybe. But I think this is kind of setting me up for failure in a way. So I might just go back to the paper plate on this next one. Okay, so next night and we're back at it again. You can see that I did not use enough hardener on this last batch that I did. I mean, it's still dried pretty hard, but it's definitely feel a difference. Still a little tacky. So we may have better luck, you know, sanding this a little easier, but I'm not sure how long it's gonna last in the long run. And then again, I'm not sure how long any of this is gonna last in the long run. So I'm gonna try to make my next couple batches to fill in the remaining bare metal up here to look more like this pink color. That should tell you that it's got, you know, enough filler mixed in there, enough hardener mixed in there. I think once you get this nice like bubblegum salmon type, you know, color going on. Trying out this new Bondo mixing platter here. It's gonna be a piece of cedar wood, randomest thing I could find, but it may work, it may not. Remember, the glass was just a little too cold and it was keeping the Bondo pretty hard. So we're gonna give this piece of wood a shot, and maybe the Bondo will smell like cedar now. These are like cooking cedar planks, so yeah, not for the grill today. They're for the mixing purposes of the Bondo. So let's see how this goes. Well, the cedar worked out pretty good, but it's still not the best choice. We're just getting the job done with what we got. It's definitely not pretty. This other style Bondo is a different color, so it's not that salmon pink color that I was expecting. We've got quite the mixture of colors up on top here. But yeah, we're slowly closing in that bare metal area, and then I'm gonna have to start sanding, find the low spots, high spots. So yeah, it's a long process. Definitely the most Bondo I ever used. All right, we're finally done with the first layer of Bondo. We got the whole roof covered, all the bare metal spots covered, and it's looking pretty rough, I gotta say. It's definitely gonna be a lot of sanding. Kind of set myself up for failure in a way. There's just globs of it kind of mounded up. So now we just kind of sculpt it and figure out where the lows are, where the highs are. Probably gonna do some type of glazing putty in spots, but we're just going in. We're learning out here. We're giving it a shot. I guess you're not gonna learn until you try it, so. But yeah, over here is looking pretty rough. I mean, this is just a horror story for any bodywork specialist out there. A whole list of don'ts and don't be this guy, but that's me just trying it out myself. Put on that mask and let's get to sanding. All right, just hit it with some 60 grit sandpaper. Kind of a rough breakdown. Kind of get all the really rough jagged edges off. All the peaks, all the high spots and whatnot. Basically how to apply it, and your sandpaper sequence should be 40, 80, 180. So yeah, the lowest that I have right now is 60, so that's what I was hitting it with. Quick X pattern, as I'm sanding it down. I don't have the proper blocking tool or anything like that. Literally just using this little sanding pad. This ghetto 60 grit sandpaper on there. But just with this going over it, you can see how much it actually broke down. Lots of material coming off, so that's a good sign. But anyways, yep, we're making progress. Let's get to sanding. I'm loving this other type of Bondo that I picked up. It sands a lot nicer, goes down a lot smoother. This like original Bondo stuff is pretty rough. It's pretty difficult to kind of get smooth. This stuff's just still really thick. This stuff lays on really thin. I don't know if I got the hardener ratio just right, where it's not too bad. Kind of getting a little bit of motivation now, a little more than I had before, just to kind of see it somewhat start to come together. Makes you want to keep on working on it and get it nice and smooth and, make it look like it never happened. That's the whole goal of this anyway. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up tonight. I think I've been in this garage a little too long with this Bondo smell. Yeah, I had a mask on, but man, it just doesn't really do much, I gotta tell you. Garage was cracked a little bit, same with the back door back there, got the fan going. But yeah, it's definitely a brutal smell. And I think I better get out of the garage and go get some fresh air. So I'll catch you guys in the next clip. Well, I don't know if I want to go too much further tonight. I ordered some sanding blocks, that way I can kind of get this thing nice and flat. I got like a 5-inch, a 7, and like a 10-inch sanding block. Because right now I'm just using this little soft sanding block. So you can kind of see a little bit of low spots here that I sanded through too much. So I can get more consistent with the sanding block, or an assortment of sanding blocks. So I'm going all in on this bodywork. Like I said, we're gonna get some sanding blocks here tomorrow and hopefully start blocking this thing out like you should. I'm trying to do it the proper way, so we'll see. Catch you guys tomorrow. Well, they're not Dura blocks, but they are Dura Gold, so maybe it's a Dura brand still. Basically just 3 different size blocks, sanding blocks, that I'm going to attempt to use on my roof. Hopefully get that thing in better shape than it is now. I'll link this down below in the description. Got it off Amazon if any of you are interested. But all I need now is sandpaper that works with this. So these will work with like adhesive backed paper or the hook and loop style type. So I'm gonna basically just kind of line it up and double up, triple up, whatever length I need. I'm just gonna triple up, double up the discs that I have and see if that works any better or if it works at all. I really don't know. This is by no means a how-to video. We're gonna get some 60 grit sandpaper on probably the 10-inch block here and start blocking it out and see if we can, be like those guys on YouTube and find the low spots and whatnot with their guide coat. We're gonna try this out too. I did a little test yesterday just to see how it works. Basically, you spray it on, light mist, and let it dry for a bit. Then you hit it with some sandpaper, and basically you sand it off. And whatever guide coat doesn't come off, that means it's too low for the sandpaper to hit. Just like these little craters, these little divots in there. These are like little holes. Again, I'm all new to this stuff, so I'm just learning as I go. So far, so good. Let's try those new blocks out. So here's the block. This is the 10-inch one, and it already comes prepared. If you, depending on what kind of sandpaper you're using, if you have the sticky back sandpaper, you'd probably leave this on. If you have the other Velcro style, that'll just come right off, and then you'll be able to slap on your sanding discs right onto it. Such as this, I have two 60 grit sand discs on here. I'm not sure if this is gonna work or not, but it seems like it's pretty good. This block is flexible, so I can kind of match the contour of the roof as I go. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just trying it out for myself. And you don't want to go in a back and forth motion. You want to do X motions. So I've researched. Start to smooth it out and see what we can get. Something like that over and over and over and over again. I like to kind of clean up as I go. That way I'm not overwhelmed with all the dust. So I'm not overwhelmed with all the dust. There's a lot of dust. Way too much Bondo. All right, we are seeing some progress here finally. We do have some bare metal spots popping back up, but that just shows you that those were high spots versus the other Bondo that I was sanding down. Still a long way from finished, but I think we're ready to move up a grit to 80, as most of the shaping is done, but we got to get to 80 grit. And then I believe 180 after that, and then decide on what areas we need to add some glazing putty. And then I'm gonna hit it with some primer, some sandable high build primer. That way I can just, continue to fine tune the top. So we're getting there. A lot of elbow grease, I'm sure my shoulders are gonna be sore tomorrow, but it's gonna be all worth it in the end, I know it. But usually hard work does pay off in the end, so we're going with that motto today. All right, I just slapped some 80 on here. 2 lucky discs right there. We're gonna just continue to find the low spots, high spots, and just see how it's gonna stand out here. We're gonna spray a little guide coat now. Check for high spots, low spots. It's basically like a black spray paint that's sandable. So we'll start sanding and start exposing all the problem areas. So let's check out our low spots here. So you can see there's a little bit of etching primer splatter there. So the primer is in those little crevices. Why is this light being so weird? Whoa. Again, here's some etching primer there. Kind of see it just in those little holes. But for the most part, I think I did pretty good. Little low spot here, see some etching primer and the little pinholes. Big spot here. Just a couple spots. A little area to fill there. You can feel it with your fingers. Same thing on this side. There's a little bit of pinhole, a little bit of crater action going on. It's very minimal. So nothing, a little glazing putty you can't fix. So I don't recommend putting Bondo or putty right over the guide coat. So I'm gonna go on ahead and sand it back down to bare metal, or at least just get rid of the guide coat. And then I'm gonna hit it with some of the glazing putty and kind of go around to the areas that need it and let it dry and sand it off and see what we're looking like. Sand it back down with 80. That way the Bondo or the glazing putty will have something to adhere to. You want to kind of scuff it up again. All right, got all the areas scuffed up for the glazing putty now. So just a couple of areas. I'm going to attempt to kind of fill in one of these cracks to see what that does. Just give it a shot, experiment a little bit. So yeah, let's get on to the glazing putty, mix that stuff up, see what that stuff's about. Here's the stuff right here. I'll link it down below if you guys want some of this. Well, I guess the stuff doesn't have any hardener. It comes pre-mixed. Gonna break the seal with the cap. Ooh. Not sure if you're just supposed to dab it right out of the tube or what. But we're gonna learn and learn today. I wonder if you have to mix it or what. It doesn't really tell you much. But we'll just use our better judgment. Just get a little bit on there and have at it. Can't see much, can you? So far, it looks pretty horrible. Try to feel those cracks in here. It's pretty straightforward. Well, this stuff sets up really fast. It was actually starting to harden on me when I was still putting it on. You can see where it's still wet and where it's dried already. Looks like it takes about 20 to 25 minutes to set up fully. We can also sand it with 320 to 400 grit to get it all nice and smooth and uniform. So we'll let this stuff dry, come back, sand it off, and see how it feels.